What up, y'all? Just sitting here on my blanket. Try not to show my. I don't have a shirt on, so I'm gonna try not to show my chest. But like one thing I want to talk about, and that I think it will really be helpful, when it comes to talking with women, and it's counterintuitive. But one thing I've realized is that with women, being dumb actually equals smart. Like having like a low amount of thoughts and activity going on in your head, but being organized is actually considered smart to women. Like, I think I always thought, oh, I'm gonna be so intelligent and have all these thoughts and all these hobbies and all this everything, when it comes to women, right? And they're gonna realize how smart and intelligent I am, right? Like, that was my thought. But then I started to realize, I was like, wait a minute, if you actually think about it, the more activity that you have going on in your brain, the less likely it is that you're actually organized, right? So you have to actually think about it, right? The more information that you have going on in your head, and the more thoughts that you're processing, the more likely it is that you're disorganized. And that actually doesn't come across as as intelligent or useful to a woman. See, like, you have to understand, if you're a protector, you actually have to have you have two options. You can either have low amount of brain activity, you're not thinking that much, you're not overthinking, and you're highly organized, or the second option is that you have a lot of activity in your brain, but you're still organized. And that's incredibly difficult. Of course, if you're someone that loves to learn, that's absolutely great. But you're going to be burdened with the fact that you have to actually organize your thoughts and your speech and your everything, because you have so much brain activity going on, right? So a lot of people will be like, oh, so why did she pick the guy who's dumb, like, or like, he has nothing going on in his head, he doesn't read, he doesn't have any thoughts about anything? Well, I mean, I'm no psychologist or whatever, but I would assume that the man who has the lower brain activity is actually more alert, right? He's ready in the present moment. He's present because he has lower amount of activity going on in his brain. So he's present and able to protect her from threats, right? And it's easier for him to organize himself. It's easier for him to organize his thoughts because he has less thoughts going on. So he can appear more competent in that sense. So if you're sitting around thinking, wondering why the girl goes for the guy who has less going on in his head, that's actually probably why. And if you wanna if you're naturally an overthinker or something like me, you're burdened with the fact that you need to get organized. You need to understand yourself, and that's gonna take longer than the average person, because you have so much going on in your head. It's going to take longer to develop opinions. It's going to take longer to sort through yourself and to deal with your excess energy, because you have so many thoughts in your unconscious that are just dormant, and you haven't processed them yet. So if you're naturally like an overthinker, you think a lot, you're going to have to do a lot of processing. I really recommend reading a lot of books, and I wouldn't necessarily read books to get smarter. I would read books, well, for the sake of processing what you're already doing. Like, if you're really think a lot, I would recommend probably reading books like about the autism spectrum, because if you're really thinking a lot, you're probably ADHD or autistic, like, honestly. So yeah, you can come across a lot more stoic if you actually just don't think that much. But like I'm saying, you either have two options. Either you don't think, or you get organized with the amount that you do think. And I think we're kind of born with one or the other, so you have to figure out what you have going on. But yeah, it's just a lot more simplistic. Uh, so being super witty and all this stuff, and complicated and a complex person, being complex I think is only okay if you're stoic. You know what I'm saying? If you're a stoic person, you can be complex. But I don't think women like complex men who are all over the place. They have this excess energy, all this goofiness, all this complicatedness, and philosophizer like that hasn't, you know, I don't know. I mean, it's just, it really depends, but how do I explain it? You somehow have to get to the point where you're stoic, right? And you don't have this excess energy and thoughts just leaking out of you. So you have to learn how to process it. All right, peace out.